Well, hi. My name's David, and I am doing this video from beautiful Magalia, California, up in the northern woods, up in the Sierras. Kind of near Paradise, Chico, if you're familiar with the area. Sporting my California Republic hat. Here today, really, to talk about the issue of California independence, the different groups involved, and where they're going. A lot of us out there are kind of in the middle. We hear all this noise on both sides of the fence, not only our current political climate, but we hear Russian connections to the Yes California movement. We hear the CNP and their agenda. And also, there's a lot of loose, smaller groups that I found out that are scattered throughout the state on their own independence platform, mostly for statehood and not for national independence, which I am honestly full support of national independence, not breaking the state into smaller districts. That being said, I want to go over the California National Party had a convention today. Jed Wheeler was a speaker there, and I thought he did a fantastic job illustrating the plan, kind of the agenda of that particular movement, as well as voter registration, and some nuances that I feel that the Yes California movement has kind of missed on. I'm not slandering the Yes California movement. I personally have had discussions with, is it Luis? Yeah, it's Luis. Unfortunately, have found him to be a little bit egomaniacal when it comes to getting over old grudges that he has with the leadership of the California National Party. We don't need very much division. I honestly urge everybody to really look into the California National Party. Ties to Russia right now could really be catastrophic towards the outcome of what we're trying to achieve, especially in this political climate. The last thing that we would really want to do would be tied in with Russia and considered an enemy of the state one day. That would be an unfortunate turn of events. I wanted to kind of address this division that is happening between liberalism and conservatism in the United States. If we are planning to create our own nation, and we want to be free of the United States as far as on the political spectrum, we want independence. Therefore, we don't necessarily have to hold on to those old grudges that were created by wedge issues. You remember the term divided we fall. We need the farmer in Central California as much as we need the tech industry in the city. The goods that are produced in the Central Valley and in a lot of the rural areas in California are consumed in the city. The technology that is created in the city is used, obviously, by people in the rural community. This isn't an us and them. This is an us, and we are all us. So sitting there and nitpicking on this two-party system that honestly was created kind of to wedge us against each other, to solidify power between two parties. They kind of play this big giant game of keep away anyway. We always end up with the brunt of it. Right now, with the Trump administration, we are currently experiencing an assault on the California way of life. In California, we generally do not condone racism anymore. Now, we were one of the more racist states back in the Jim Crow era. That's changed a lot, and things have changed a lot in the fabric and society of California. We do not hate our Mexicans here. I mean, let's face it, look at the names of our cities. We have a lot of vested interest in having a large Mexican population in our state. Some of my best friends are Mexican. From an Indian standpoint, I'm Native, I'm an enrolled tribal member. Where's this administration going to leave us? Building a giant wall across the Mexican border, to me, and banning Muslims seems to be like we are trying to block ourselves off from the brown world. But California is the brown world. It's the white world. It's everyone's world. This is not a race. How would I say that? We're not a racist society anymore. We're not. We accept that. The rest of the country is still kind of fighting over this inner turmoil, and I feel that white society maybe felt threatened in the past few years, kind of leading us to our current climate. We have a lot of contradictory philosophies. One would be on the war on drugs. California's made great moves to decriminalize and legalize the recreational use of cannabis, which I'm completely for. Also, California has made great strides to prison reform, legal reform, meaning we don't have the space and the resources. Why waste them on keeping people permanently incarcerated in prison? Why put people in there who don't really benefit from being there? Drug offenders have an illness. It's not a crime so much as it is a disease. And trust me, their relationships and their own personal life, their finances suffer enough without us going and throwing them in jail and further chastising them when they already face an uphill battle when it comes to getting sober and getting free. Another issue I would like to discuss would be warfare. I do not condone any sort of warfare, talk of assassination, talk of harming of the president, talk of harming of anything. I go with both parties, the California National Party and Yes California Movement, when I say that this should be done through vote. We have a United Nations now. This is not 1861. This is not the Civil War. Wanting our own independence might suit the conservative party of the United States better anyway. This might be the time to do this. If you think about it, we could really use the issue that our electoral votes that they need so bad in the rest of the country would pretty much solidify them a chance to be conservative if that's the direction that the United States wants to go. I think we have expressed and shown that is not the direction that we want to go here in California. Not at all. I do not feel that talking of war helps anything right now. We have enough talk of war in the international community. I do not feel that it would be politically viable for Donald Trump or the United States to attack California if it tried to peacefully succeed. I do not rule that out as a possibility, however, because I do not think stability is one of our Commander-in-Chief's finer qualities that he possesses. I think he can be rash and rush to judgment, and if the right person said the right thing at the right time, it's a possibility, and I think as Californians, we go from there. But in the meantime, there's no point in doing it, and all you're going to do is get yourself arrested and thrown in jail for even discussing such matters. So I wish the people of the nation of California kind of tone that down, that rhetoric down, because in the political landscape that we're facing, it's not going to help us. The last thing we want is to be labeled a terrorist organization. Think about the prospects of that. It's possible. Now, if somebody goes and does something in the name of or because of, that could put a bad label on us and thus jeopardize and kill the movement. And that is something that none of us want to see. We have to use our heads. We have to do this through registration. We have to do this through ballot initiatives. And we have to do this by really reaching out and expressing to the average Californian what we are attempting to do. What are we trying to do? How do we succeed? How do we succeed? It's a good question, isn't it? In this day and age, it gets really hard to see black and white because there's so much gray everywhere. But that's good. Our diversity makes us powerful, and that is how we succeed. Our economy helps. The fact that we have such a solid infrastructure helps. We could do more, and all of us could. So my question is, what would you give for independence? What are you willing to put in so that we can be free? So that the pressure and the stress that is on us right now because of the United States administration isn't on our children. That our way of life in California isn't gone tomorrow. That our citizens and our countrymen aren't thrown in prisons. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? When I say sacrifice, I'm not talking about going out and blood war and all that crap. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to donate money? Are you willing to donate time? Are you willing to grab some ballot initiatives and go get some signatures? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to study and study what the movements are about and thoroughly explain your side in a constructive way, not in a bickering wedge issue type way, in a way that'll make both sides of the political sphere see, hey, we have common ground. We're not so different. We're Californians, all the way from San Diego all the way up to Eureka. We're Californians. This is our state. We don't have to accept it. We don't have to accept the hateful policies. We don't have to accept the hateful agenda. This is yours way more than it is theirs. When I say there, I'm talking about any government, whether it be the state of California, whether it be the United States of America, whether it be a Trump administration, a Bush administration, an Obama administration. This land is ours. It's ours. Now, if we want to break off, we have to do a lot in the way of this trolling that's going on. Every time there is some sort of political movement lately, there are these things called trolls out there. And I'm sure if you've been involved in this movement, you've seen the trolls, one way or another. They're pretty easy. So let me give you a couple ways to identify a troll. All right, usually the nationalist trolls in this country are going to come with a lot of white beanies and really white blonde girls and their pictures with them and kind of like alt-right symbolism, red and white and black. You know, you've seen that stuff. But let me do the little more private ones, the ones that are actually international trolls. Pay very close attention to dialect, because if they're Russian intelligence, they're pretty smart. So they're pretty good at speaking English, but they make errors. And it's usually with having a regular conversation, the nuances of the English language. Okay, so it's kind of like how I speak Spanish. I speak broken Spanish. So to somebody from Mexico, my Spanish isn't all the way there. I could say, hola, ¿cómo estás, mi amigo? Muy bien, you too. You know, I could do that. But when it comes to the little things and the minute things that you get from a whole lifetime of speaking a language, that's where they fall short. If you start seeing these, and they start getting in these arguments where they keep trying to entice you into saying stuff like gather arms and go to war, resist with hostility, because they will. They'll try to trap you in there. They're going to try to make you look bad. It's a public smear. Be careful. Just be careful. The last thing you want to do is jeopardize a whole movement because you got hostile with some troll who's actually a Russian agent somewhere in a freaking office and say, oh yeah, let's get arms and go after the president, or let's you just don't want to do that. I mean, the country we're trying to succeed from, make no mistake, is the strongest military on the face of the planet and that the planet has ever seen. They could drop a predator strike on you from anywhere, and you won't see it coming. You don't have the resources to fight that if you wanted to. So it does little good to talk about it like that. Now, hypothesizing is just hypothesizing. Talking about something can turn into a pipe dream, something that we all discuss, but we don't really take action towards. I don't want to see this. This isn't the time to do that. We can sit there on Facebook and we can share a million different posts and memes about how uncontent we are, about how much we don't like Donald Trump, about how conservatives are ruining the country, about you're playing into